Hello again. Now, let's get into it. One of the first key concepts that really sets the foundation for creating effects is imagery. So, what is imagery? Quite simply, it's the way we use words and phrases to describe things. Now, these descriptions can be literal or even figurative, that is, not based in reality. For imagery to work best, it really needs to be tied into our five physical senses. These five senses also help us categorize different types of imagery. Let's count them out. So, first we have visual imagery. It's right there in the word. It's describing things that you can see, how they appear to you. Then you have olfactory imagery, which is a fancy way of saying describing things how they smell. Stinky, nice, you get the gist. Then you have tactile imagery, which is all about how things feel, the material, the temperature. You also have gustatory imagery, which is quite a graphic way of saying how things taste. And I think I'm forgetting one. Auditory imagery, which is describing things, what they sound like. So this will include all your babbling brooks and pitter-patter, onomatopoeia, animal sounds, all of that. But I think more important than knowing the definition of imagery is knowing what the purpose of imagery is. What even is the point of using it? See, there's a difference between powerful graphic imagery that really works and captivates the reader and imagery that does not. And that difference is based on how our brains work. Not to go too deep into cognitive psychology or whatever, the main point is this. Our brains find it a lot easier to think in terms of pictures as compared to words. Think about it. Words on a page are simply lines and squiggles. They have no meaning of their own. It is in fact our brains that assign meaning to those words by associating either a picture or any other physical sense to them. And this is simply because we use our five senses to experience life and the world around us. They form the basic tools for us to understand everything and to ground it in reality. Writing, however, is interesting because it's not a visual medium. Unlike paintings or movies, there is literally nothing to look at. Your brain actually has to go that extra mile and assign value to all those words that you're reading. This is where you begin to realize that difference between imagery and descriptions that really work and those that don't. Simply speaking, the more a description engages with the reader's senses, the more powerful it is. Now, this can mean engaging with multiple senses and also engaging deeply into a single sense. All of this makes it easier for your brain to picture what is going on. Let's go for a simple example. There's a big brown building. Pretty straightforward, right? There's a picture being created in your head. Now consider this sentence. The chocolate-colored mansion towered above the trees. Pretty sure you'll agree the second one makes a much clearer picture in your head. As you may be thinking, it is that specificity in the details that makes all the difference. When I said brown building, it could have been any shade of brown. Heck, it could have been any kind of building. We all could have imagined completely different images, and technically speaking, all of them would have been valid. But as the writer in this case, I'm in charge. I tell your brains what to think. I don't want to give that level of open interpretation to the reader. Maybe something happens to that building later and I need to have my descriptions very accurate. By specifying and adding those modifiers, I was able to create a much more crisp description which I can then use later for different purposes. There is indeed an entire spectrum when it comes to ranking different words and seeing which ones work and which ones don't. In fact, that's going to be the topic for our next video. I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with our sixth sense. Let me know if this video on imagery helped you understand the concept. Definitely look out for different kinds of imagery during your reading. Speaking of which, do some reading. Also make notes of those descriptions that really move you to your core and try to figure out what it is about them that does that. These imagery are not limited to just books. You can find them in movies, in song, on Netflix. Check it out. Imagery and visual language exists everywhere. Until next time, may your pens and swords stay sharp.